We are in Ani. Ani was the capital of the Bagratid kingdom between 961 and 1045. This medieval double fortress city is one of the most significant examples of religious evolution in the world. Inside of the city, there are 25 different structures that have been discovered during its excavations, where you can really see how religion has flourished and changed throughout history in Anatolia. August 26, 1064, the Sultan of the Seljuk Empire, Alparslan, will conquer Ani. And that is when the Seljuk Empire will start to build lots of different buildings in this area. One of the most important being the one behind me here, which is the Seljuk Hammam, or baths here inside of Ani. The water from these mountains was actually brought here for 12 kilometers inside of terracotta pipes to feed the hammam and the water that was needed to be cleansed. With the arrival of the Seljuk Empire, many buildings began to be built, not just hammams, but specifically lots of mosques, medreses, which were schools for the Islamic religion, and most importantly, hospitals and areas for research and medicine, because this area has so many endemic plants that grow in it. There's actually 333 different types of plants, in which over 100 of them are endemic only to this area, many of them used in medicine. That is why this was one of the most important medical centers of the time. This is the Tigran Hon Church. This is a Gregorian church built around 1215. And inside of this church, you can see frescoes that are of St. George's life, along with Mother Mary and her ascension to heaven. And another fresco that I found very important over here is of Helen and Constantine making the declaration of Christianity for all of Anatolia. This is a beautiful church, something definitely that should not be missed when visiting Ani. The architecture of this building is a great representation of the multiculturalism that existed here. Inside of the architecture, you can see representations of Persian, Armenian, Georgian, and Seljuk architectural features. Inside of the church are frescoes of St. George, and this happens to be one of only 2 churches in Anatolia that have frescoes of St. George on their walls. Ani is known as the city of 1,001 churches. Now, 1,001 churches haven't been found here, but 122 have been found so far. There's thought to be at least thousands more because the caves that are dug out on the sides of the riverbeds and all around the city walls are actually thought to be possibly churches. Many of them have been closed now, these caves, due to erosion over time. There's also 2 mosques and one very interesting Zoroastrian temple here, which is a temple that the Persians built before the Eastern Romans came and made this a Christian city. We are in the Cathedral of Ani, or the Surp Azvadzadzin Church, and also the Victory Mosque. Now, the progression of all this is what's important. This shows how religion really progressed in Ani. First, it was the Church of Surp Azvadzadzin. This is when the Georgian and Armenian people had their own version of Christianity that they believed in. After they took on the Orthodox religion, it was turned into a cathedral. And when the Sultan Alparslan of the Seljuks took over the city of Ani, it was actually turned into a mosque, and it was the place of the first Friday prayer that the Seljuks conducted in Ani. The construction of the cathedral began in 989, and the architect was Tigran Hon. He was also the architect that was responsible for the reconstruction of the Hagia Sophia dome after one of the large earthquakes in which it was destroyed. The columns behind me are very important because they are one of the first examples of Gothic architecture in the world. Gothic architecture actually began in Ani, and it moved through here into Europe. This church was dedicated to Mother Mary and is a church that kind of changed the history of the Armenians and Georgians because they decided to become Orthodox Christians, and this church is a representation of that. This is the Abul Menu Mosque. It was built in the year 1064 by the Seljuks. This is a very important mosque because this is the first Turkish mosque built in Anatolia. The mosque was actually built out on a cliffside because the city of Ani was so populated, there was no place to build the mosque. That is how big the city was. Now, today you can only see about 30% of what the mosque was in its origin because during the Russian occupation, most of it was destroyed. Ani, an ancient city that's located on the northeastern border of Türkiye and Armenia. This is one of the most impressive archaeological digs in Türkiye. As you walk through this city, you can literally hear the evolution of religion through its corridors, only in Türkiye.